Sure thing, sure thing. All right.
Good morning, everybody. So glad to see you here. Find your seats. We'll get started here. Always good to be together. And we have a special presentation this morning. We're excited to hear about. We've got Harrison Gibbs with us. I know a lot of you know Harrison from his younger years here. We're excited to hear an update from him this morning. Harrison works with the campus ministry down at UTC and connected with the Central Church of Christ down there. We're excited to hear about him. If you don't know my story, I came up through a campus ministry at a secular university. It's such an important work. I'm so appreciative for the work that he does there and many others who do that kind of work. So excited to hear about him, an important ministry that we support. So I'll hand it over to him. By the way, Butch is going to be in the prayer room. If anyone has need of that, he'll be there.
All right. Thanks, John. All right, clicker. Oh, they work better if you turn them on. Is it? Yeah, it's on now. You gave me a little blue light. Come on. Let's go. Down button. That tricks me. I'm thinking it's going to move. We're moving forward. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to John for introducing me. Today, I'm going to be talking about our Christian Student Center. I want to emphasize the plural possessive nature. That this isn't UTC's Christian Student Center. It's not Central's Christian Student Center. It's certainly not mine. But as a community of Christians, as a body of faithful members, it is our Christian Student Center. I don't see myself necessarily as being Central's campus minister. You know, their name might be on the checks that I get each month, but we are sponsored by a number of congregations, including yours. And so I see myself not just as you know, a campus minister working with the Central congregation. I see myself working as I am your campus minister, I'm Central's, I'm Red Bank's, I'm not just the congregations that support us, but anybody who has a student on campus at UTC or has an interest in the work down there, I'm your campus minister. Whoop, that didn't transfer over well. Who is this guy and why is he here? As John said, I'm Harrison. Let's see. In 2010, I was in the college class that was then being taught by the then provost of UTC, Phil Oldham, who's now the president at Tennessee Tech University. I'm a husband, father, minister, and as I said, a CSC alum. My wife, Tabitha, she's sitting behind John there. Our little 3-year-old boy, Gideon, he's in his classroom right now. We've got a few of our college students here with us, Levi, Jessica, Stone. We've got Talia back there. So if you have a chance, you know, say hey to them, talk to them about the CSC or just about what life on campus is like these days. I have been in ministry for a little over a decade now, first starting off as a missionary in China, which, you know, y'all are my overseeing congregation for that 2 years of ministry. And then when I came back, you were the congregation that sent me off when I first started doing a campus ministry at East Carolina University back in, goodness, when was that, 2016, I think? Since then, I've gotten my master's degree, a master's in divinity from Heritage Christian University, but enough about me. We are the Christian Student Center. And as I said, we are a campus ministry, a mission organization is the way that I think of it. That's, you know, like our public broadcasting, you know, sponsored by congregations like you. Now, not everybody who is part of our campus ministry is a UTC student. We've got students that come from UTC, Chat State, Dalton State. We've had some in the past from all the way up coming from Bryant down to UTC to come to things. Some of our students, they're not even actively enrolled presently. They are maybe in between, or they're thinking about maybe going to college, or they're like, no, I'm just college age. I don't want to do that. But but we've got a good group of young people, college-age young people, and not everyone who's part of our ministry is part of the Churches of Christ. And I think that's one of the great strengths of our ministry is that we get to have some really good, really deep, really interesting congregations about what the Bible says and what it is to follow Christ. My office, which in this picture, that's the door to my office. We've got couches out here. It is not uncommon for me to have my door cracked, and it'll be a Monday or a Wednesday when we have one of our lunches that's open to the campus community. We do $2 lunches on Mondays and Wednesdays. First time it's free. Home-cooked meals, it's really good food. Wanda is the best. But we'll be sitting out there, or we'll have students sitting out there and they're talking, they're having a good time. They've invited their friends or they've ran into somebody and they're coming into the student center. And I'll be working on Bible class or whatever when I have my door cracked in case anybody needs me. And I'll be hearing people talk about, what is authoritative for Christian practice? Is it the Bible? Is it tradition? Is it what this theologian says? Is it what that person says? And it's like, man, these are not necessarily the conversations I was having when I was in college. We've got a really great group of young people that really care about the Lord and the Lord's work and the Lord's kingdom. We've got Miss Wanda. She is our house mom, Wanda Mance. Wanda has been working with the Student Center for over 25 years. I believe this year will be the beginning of her 27th year. We started in 1970. And so you can do the math. That puts Wanda almost as being house mom of the CSC for half the time that the Student Center has been around, which is all the more impressive seeing that I'm the 8th campus minister. She's our 8th house mom. And she's been there half the time that the CSC's been around nearly. We have 8 student ambassadors: Adeline Rucker, Hannah Dilling, Sydney Blaylock, Corey Maddox, Talia's family, they know Corey. Stone Phillips, who's here, Dylan Hood, Levi Wright, who's also here, and Caleb Christensen. So we've got 5 guys, 3 girls this year. We've got 2 of our guys that have agreed to share one of the bedrooms upstairs at the Student Center. If you've not been by, it was built back in the 1880s, we think. The first bill of sale, I think, was from 1889, but we're fairly certain it was built before that. So our building is over 140 years old. And back in 2017, being a century-plus-year-old building, it had some issues, and so we had a large sum of money that kind of came in. Some people had left money to the Student Center as part of their will, and we were able to gut the building. This was before my time, when Craig was the campus minister, and they renovated the entire interior of the Student Center. We have upstairs a separate apartment with its own entry for the girls, 4 apartments up there with a kitchenette and bathroom and laundry facilities, and then a separate entry for the upper guys' apartments on their side. Again, 4 apartments, bathroom, laundry facilities, kitchenette, and then downstairs, this is our kind of like our living room. I don't really ever know what to call it. I think living room is the best term for it because it's where we do most of our day-to-day stuff. But it's where we have our devotionals. It's where we have, students sitting around studying. It's where we do life together when we have our various social functions weekly. It's where a lot of those are going on. Beyond that, we have some coffee booths that are currently being renovated. We have an industrial kitchen that was put in, which is a huge step up from the very, very cramped kitchen we had back when I was a student there. We have a dining room, ADA accessible bathrooms. It's a really great facility to get to work in. Now, I am here to share some good news with you. This year we have served, I've estimated some 5,000 individual meals. This comes as a part of our devotionals. Every Tuesday night at 6:30 we serve dinner. And that's absolutely free to anybody who shows up. And then we have our time of worship after that. And this is Wanda and our students put those meals together every Tuesday night. We're doing them right now during the summertime as well. We tend to take a break in May. We'll take a short break in August, and we take a short break over the Christmas holiday. But other than that, if it's Tuesday night, come to the CSC, grab you some dinner. And a lot of the devotionals are often led by our young men. Frequently I'll speak, but I think this last spring semester I spoke at maybe a grand total of what, Corey? 3 devotionals this past spring maybe? And our guys covered the rest of them, which is a real encouraging thing to see. I've estimated some 200 Bible studies took place through the Student Center this year. That is part of our student ambassadors. One of the things that they do is each week they'll have a small group Bible study. And with 7-8 students and roughly 32 weeks in a semester, now not every week will they get to meet. Sometimes the people that are in their group can't meet, or we were down one student ambassador throughout the entire spring semester, so we had a little bit fewer there. But approximately 200 Bible studies took place throughout the week at the Christian Student Center. If you add up all the opportunities that students that are actively involved in the Christian Student Center, what they have available to them, of course, Sunday and Wednesday Bible classes that I teach, small group, devotional. They have Sing and Split on Monday nights. That's it. And then our small group that we have on Sunday evenings. That's 6 opportunities throughout the week they have to study the Bible as part of the group outside of their own individual time. As a point of comparison, when I was a student at Freed Hardeman, I would say, again, Sunday, Wednesdays, we had 5 short chapels a week, and then you might have 2 to 3 Bible classes a week. We don't have chapel at the CSC, but the numbers are fairly close to what you would get elsewhere. Now, of course, Freed's going to have better teachers than me, but I do what I can. Since May 24 to May 25, we had 9 baptisms this year. This is the second most number of baptisms that we've had since we started keeping records when Craig was campus minister. There may be other records going back further, but I haven't found them. So I'm hoping that we can increase that number this next year. One of the big emphasis for the coming year is going to be service and evangelism. There's been an increase in the average participation at the CSC. But more important, not just at UTC, there's something happening on campuses around the U.S. Some really interesting stuff. Now, most of the time, you're probably familiar when campus ministers or youth ministers come in, they're talking about what's happening to our young people. It's a really depressing story, correct? Something's changing. The generation that's in college currently is Gen Z. They are the second largest population group in the United States, making up a little over 20% of our total population. With immigration, that number is set to increase and probably become the largest group in America. So I want you to think, 1/5 of our total population is round about the college age. Now, compared to their parents and grandparents, or parents and my parents' generation, you have the boomer generation. That's my parents. My brother-in-law Craig. He's a late Gen Xer. Over the last from 2019 to this year, you can see the average number of people. This is information from the Barna group. In their surveys of people who say that they have made a commitment to Jesus and that commitment is important to this day, from 2019, in blue is the men, 53%. Kind of stayed the same through COVID, dipped in 21, up in 22, down again, up again. 62%, so up 9% from 2019. Not bad. Women. Dipped and has fallen by an average of 4% for the boomer generation. So that's, we don't like to see that. But Generation X, women 66% to 66%, men's 57% to 64%. So, so slight increase for the men there. Now expanding out to the millennials and Gen Z. Millennials, we see men making a commitment to Christ at 52% up to 71%, almost 20% jump. Women 58% to 64. Young women in the Gen Z group, 54% up to 61. Men 52 up to 67%. Big increases in young people who feel drawn to Christ. Young people who have gone through what seems to be just a carousel of crisis for most of their developmental phase, and they're getting to the point to where they're like, I need something that lasts. I need something that's stable. I need something that matters. And a lot of young people are beginning to look to Christ for that. We've got some big opportunities on UTC and Chat State's campus. Last year, UTC had a record enrollment of over 11,000 students, getting close to 12,000. I think we might hit the 12,000 mark this year. Chattanooga State has a little under 8.6 thousand students enrolled, bringing us to a total of 20,371 souls on the two main campuses that we reach out to. 20,000 young people that we have just within walking distance, within a short driving distance from the Christian Student Center. That's a huge, huge opportunity. I want to put a pin in that 20,000 number. We're going to come back to that. So again, who are we, but where are we? This is a map of UTC's, their master plan. This was their 10-year master plan. I think they put this out in 2023. So by 2033, they're hoping to acquire a few more properties and renovate some existing ones. Anything in yellow is going to be new construction. So we're seeing lots of new construction. I think that's where Ingalls Stadium is. I think they're going to maybe put a new football stadium down there. I don't know. That would be, personally, I love Ingalls Stadium. I'm a big history guy. Babe Ruth played there. Hank Aaron played there. So a little bit sad to lose that. But also, it would be really cool to be able to walk to a football game. That would be pretty great. We're at 609 Houston Street. We're right next to campus. If I'm sitting at my desk, working, I can turn my whole spinny chair around, look out my window, dormitories right out my window. I've got students right there. And so we are, like I said, located right there. The Central Church of Christ is right there. And let's look and see where our students are located. These are all the apartments and dormitories that are just nearby. There are more campus housing, like apartments, the Walk to Campus organization. They have even more places down in this area. There's more places over here. Stone, your apartment is what? Over, is it off Macaulay or MLK, Stone? Macaulay. Okay, so Macaulay is right there. So we've got even more students living within easy walking distance from the Christian Student Center. I'll be honest. We've got the students right where we want them. They have us surrounded. This is a huge, huge opportunity for us. Let's talk about Acts 2 for a moment. When I'm thinking about campus ministry to me looks like the book of Acts more than basically any other ministry I've ever been part of. Even in some cases, even more than the mission work that I undertook when I was in China. Campus ministry really looks and feels familiar when I'm reading the book of Acts. In Acts chapter 2, on the day of Pentecost, there was an estimated population in Jerusalem of about 300,000. Some Bible historians might push it upwards as high as 1 million. Some were going to say it was only probably about 100,000. Most people are going to fall with the native population that lived there year-round, with all the people who come in from other places. Most people are going to fall around the 300,000 mark. 300,000. And we see that they baptized 3,000 souls that day. And we might be a little bit cynical and go, yeah, that's just 1% of the whole population. That's a tiny, insignificant, that is the skim milk of you know. But the thing is if you keep reading the book of Acts, what happens to that 1%? It grows. It grows. Put a pin in that 1%. How can 1% make a difference? In Matthew 13, Jesus tells this single verse parable. He says, he told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven that a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour till it was all leaven. Now, Talia, you make sourdough bread. I've had it. It's really good. How much of when you're making your dough, like how much of it is starter and how much of it is like the other ingredients? Yeah, way less than half. I did some math. The rough equivalent, if you're making bread with like a leavening packet, you need about 100 grams of at least for some of the recipes I looked at, 100 grams of sourdough starter to be the equivalent of like a packet of like that dry active yeast that you can get at Walmart. And so the amount of like leaven in that is somewhere around like 5% of like the total volume. But once you add in all of the other ingredients that go into your bread dough, it ends up being slightly less than 1% of the total volume is the actual leavening stuff. Everything else is just the flour and the water that the yeast needs to thrive and to grow on. And it's that 1% that begins to grow and to multiply and is what gives a kind of life and lift to the dough. So when Jesus is talking about, so often when we think about leaven in the context of Scripture, we go, oh, you got to get the leaven out. The leaven's about, like, no. In this instance, when Jesus is talking about leaven is a good thing. Leaven is the kingdom of heaven. It's the thing that like goes into the ingredients and gives life to it, that gives lift to it, that makes it into something that is more. That it's not just this. If you try to make a bread without any kind of leavening in it, good luck. That's going to be a pretty tough chew there. But by the time you get to Acts 4:4, we see 5,000 people who believe in Jesus. So we've gone from a group of just 120 believers in Acts 1 to 3,000, and then another 5,000, and then Then after that, they just stopped counting. They just stopped counting after that. And I love that. And when we're thinking about like the day of Pentecost, that 1% eventually has to go home. That 1% eventually goes home. And you've got people, to them, they're from all over the world. I mean, all over the place. Cyrene and Libya and Egypt and Asia and Phrygia and Pontus and Rome. People from everywhere. And when they go home, they take something with them. Put an idea in that idea of going home. Again, campus ministry is a first century style evangelism. When we're working with our young people, they come into the Christian Student Centers. Their freshman year, they're excited. They're silly. They're silly the whole time. They don't stop that, but they're just so excited to be there, and they're nervous, and they've got all this they're on their own for the first time, and they've hit this big milestone moment in their life, and then. Sophomore year, junior year, they're starting to look at, they've narrowed in on a major. They're looking at internships. They're looking at, what am I going to do after school? Am I going to get a master's degree? A lot of times they're talking real seriously to somebody. They're dating somebody. They're seeing this transition. They're looking at life after college when they're getting to senior year, and they're thinking about okay, am I going to stay in Chattanooga? Am I going to go back home to, wherever it is that they're from? Am I going to set out somewhere new? And blaze a trail of my own in some other place? And they're thinking about all these things. UTC, this is just UTC that we're talking about here. Where are our students from? Now, when we think of UT Chattanooga, we think, well, it's a local school with a local population, and that's not entirely wrong, except for the fact that the pushpins represent places where we have had students in the CSC this year that's where they call home. I've talked to a number of kids this year in the Student Center. This is not just like UTC's numbers. These are just like from my recollection, like, oh yeah, we had a couple folks from Bangladesh, we had a few from India, we had one from Japan, we had another couple from Korea, we had, a handful from Turkey, which was pretty cool. One guy, I'm blanking on his name, fantastic at ping pong. I mean, one of the best ping pong players I've ever seen. It was impressive. But all over. 87.4% of UTC's students come from Tennessee. It's a big number. Of that, 30% are Hamilton County. So nearly a third come from, their friends and neighbors. These are kids that, that y'all have gone to school with, that you see kids around the neighborhood or whatever, that's where they're going to school. About a third of our population comes from Hamilton County, 87.4 from broader Tennessee, 11.4% is from other states. The majority of which coming from Georgia and Alabama at 6.7 and 1.1 respectively. Which leaves an international community of 1.2. We have more international students on campus at UTC than we do Alabama students. I think that's such. Depends on the part of Alabama. Now, this to me is the incredible opportunity that campus ministry presents to us. Not only are we investing in our own community, not only are we investing in our own state or our own country or our region, this is a global mission work. And when we're looking at Acts chapter 2, and you've got people from all over the place coming into Jerusalem, for the day of Pentecost, and eventually they're going to have to go home. We have over 40 countries represented at UTC. Over 40. I like the number 40. It's a good biblical number. If we have 20,000 souls between UTC and Chat State, and in Acts 2, 3,000 baptisms is only 1%. And that 1% takes the gospel home with them. And they kind of become an embedded missionary. What would it take to reach just 1% of that community? Like, again, I would like to do more than 1%. I would like to do way more than 1%. But if we're just, talking about 1%, what would it take to reach that 1%? We have somewhere at our devotionals between 45 and 60 students that come to our devotionals on Tuesday nights. What is that? Each person talk to, 3, 4 people? Share the gospel with 3 or... Levi, could you share the gospel with 3 to 4 people? Yeah. I think that's pretty reasonable. What's going to happen on campus if 1% of that population kind of realizes that the thing that they're looking for, it's not a what, it's a who. They're not looking for a degree, they're not looking for money, they're not looking for a party, they're looking for Christ. What happens when these people kind of wake up and see that's what they're looking for? And after a year, 2 years, 4 years, maybe they stick around and get a master's degree, 6 years. When these students go home to, Monteagle, Nashville, Memphis, Chicago, Singapore, Turkey, and they take the gospel with them. What's going to happen to those communities? What's going to happen to them and their families? What's going to happen across the globe in a year, a decade, a generation, a century? In Matthew chapter 9, Jesus, speaking to his disciples, he says that they went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and affliction. And when he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like a sheep without a shepherd. And when we're talking about, college ministry, we're looking at the population of students on UTC's campus. It's not uncommon to see, crowds of students that, whether they realize it or not, you can see that they are, in some ways, something is harassing them. On a physical level, on a spiritual level, they are feeling harassed and helpless. But they may not use those terms. They may use the terms depressed and anxious. This generation, besides having a growing sense of spirituality, is also one of the most anxious and depressed generations in American history. And that's a whole conversation unto itself. But we have a group of people that they need comfort. They need Christ. And then verse 37, Jesus says to his disciples, he says, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers, they're few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. I'm thinking about the Student Center. There's really three things that I really want to impress on the congregations that I get to speak to. And one is, first and foremost, we absolutely need your prayers. I need your prayers. The student ambassadors, they need your prayers. Just the student population in general, they need your prayers. Prayers for a realization of Christ, prayers for peace, prayers for direction. We need your prayers. Second of all, we need you to work with us. We've got a lot going on at the Student Center. Just on a day-to-day basis during the summertime, I get to work on projects, whether that's I'm renovating out some of our coffee booths right now. We had some old, kind of uncomfortable benches, and I'm replacing them with old church pews that came out of Central's balcony. These are church pews that are over 100 years old, and man, they don't build them like they used to. I mean, these things are way more comfortable than these padded benches. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. We've got a lot of projects going on at the Student Center, a lot of work going on, but also one of the things that I'm hoping to work toward in the future is I want to get I don't know if it's a spreadsheet or just a list on my laptop, but different people in different businesses or occupational fields. That when we have a student who's like, I'm thinking about going into psychology, or I'm thinking about going into pharmacy school, or I want to do, I'm going to do engineering, or I'm going to do nursing, or I'm going to do teaching, or I'm going to do this. That I can open up my laptop and go, you know what, you need to talk to, Butch over at, Signal Mountain. Butch, he's a big-time basketball guy. He's got some stories that would really impress you. You need to talk to him about the work that he does and this, that, and the other. You need to talk to this person over at Saudi. Or you need to talk to this person at Red Bank. And so that we can build up a system of sort of informal mentorship within the church, that our young people can kind of go to people in the church and build up these relationships so that they can learn from some really experienced, intelligent, wise people like you, and that you have the opportunity to pour into them, and they get to share some of the joy and enthusiasm that they bring to my life on a daily basis. And the last thing, I pray that you'd continue to support the work that we're doing at the Christian Student Center. I am so tremendously thankful beyond words for the support of the Signal congregation. The work that we do could not happen without your support. It is absolutely vital to what we do. As I said, we on a weekly basis we have our devotionals. We have lunches twice a week. We do pizza on Wednesdays. This is how we end up feeding over 5,000 individual meals to students. A lot of which are our regulars. Some of which they're people that, for a number of them, it's how they kind of get their foot in the door. Just as a quick aside, we had a young man who had a friend invite him to the student center and said, "Hey, come to a Devo. We got dinner in Devo." And he goes, "I don't know what a Devo is, but I like free dinner." So he comes to free dinner and he goes, I guess I can stick around and listen to some people sing. That's fine. And the guy, Craig got up there and he talked and he's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And he said, "Hey, come back tomorrow. We got lunch. First time's free." And he goes, "Take your free food, man. All right." He comes back for the free food. And they say, "Hey, come back tonight. We're going to have pizza, and then we're going to go have Bible study." And he goes, "All right, I'll get your pizza, and I guess I can show up to Bible class. That's whatever." And then they say, "Hey, we got lunch on Monday. It's $2." And he goes, "That's cheaper than anywhere else. I can do lunch for $2. And hey, we got Devo tomorrow. Come back, get another free dinner." And he starts showing up, and it kind of becomes a habit. And then after a few weeks, he realizes, wait a minute, these are my friends. I like these people. That young guy, his name's Ty. Ty ended up being baptized. And then he went from being baptized to being one of the student ambassadors. And then he just finished up his 3rd year as a student ambassador. He's now dating a girl from the Manchester community. And he's hoping that after he graduates that he can be a youth minister at her home congregation. And this is from a kid who grew up in Boston. When he thought about Christians, he thought they were kind of silly. That is one story among so many that I could tell. Signal, I love y'all. Any questions with the 40 seconds that we have left in class? Yeah. You said there's things going on. Yes. This summer, Tuesday nights we have at 6:30 at the Student Center, 609 Houston Street. There's free parking at the Central Church of Christ. You can come at a little bit before 6:30. Wanda will have dinner prepared, and we had poppy seed chicken with cheese and broccoli this past week, and garlic toast, and strawberry cobbler. Oof, y'all, the strawberry cobbler was so good. And so we have that every Tuesday night, and then we had a devotional to follow. Our summer crowd is a lot smaller than what we'd have typically during the regular semester, and I love that. I love that we have the smaller crowd because it's really an opportunity that the conversation is sort of like everybody talking to everybody. And so sometimes folks, we meet, we eat, we worship, and sometimes they go home. And sometimes they meet, eat, worship, and they hang around for all hours. It just kind of depends on what people are doing that week. I'm hoping that this week we might get out and go play some ultimate frisbee or something. I think that'd be fun. We'll see. Yes. Sure.
We lived there several times to eat, and our grandson was an ambassador there. I have been there to see the kids during the devos. The singing is beautiful.
Oh, the singing's great.
And I'm just very proud that you're there.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, since I believe that was the second bell, let's go ahead and end with a prayer. Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for the blessing of being part of your kingdom. Lord, thank you so much for the Signal Mountain congregation. Lord, thank you so much for all that this congregation has done for me, just personally over the years. Lord, also thank you for the ways that they have impacted the lives and eternities of students through their support of the Christian Student Center. Lord, I pray that you bless this congregation. Lord, bless the work that we're doing at the CSC, that it would be a ministry that that makes you proud, that yields fruit for your kingdom, Lord, that gives glory to you. Lord, bless the work that we're doing down in the valley and here on the mountain. That, Lord, one day when we are singing praises to you in heaven, that we can look out over the expanse of the millennia and see the scope of the work that you have done and that you've included us in. Lord, we love you. It's in Jesus Christ's name that we pray. Amen.